The wilderness had ended. 40 years of wandering beneath a blazing sun were over. Before the people of Israel now stood the land of promise, and between them and their destiny, the towering city of Jericho. Its walls were thick and unyielding, its gates shut tight with iron. To the nations, Jericho was a fortress of stone. To Israel, it was an impossible barrier. But to God, it was already fallen. Joshua, servant of Moses and now leader of God's people, stood gazing at the city's battlements when a presence appeared before him, radiant, terrifying, holy. A man stood with a drawn sword in his hand. "Are you for us or for our enemies?" Joshua asked. "Neither," the man replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord I have now come." At that moment Joshua fell to the ground in worship. "What does my Lord say to his servant?" he asked. "Remove your sandals," said the commander, "for the place where you stand is holy." The battle for Jericho would not be fought with spears or swords, but with obedience and faith. The Lord gave Joshua his command: march around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and when the priests blow the trumpets, have all the people shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse. No strategy, no siege. No army could explain what God was about to do. At dawn the next day, Israel moved out in silence. The Ark of the Covenant, the sign of God's presence, led the procession. Behind it marched the priests, the soldiers, and the people. They circled the city once, the sound of ram's horns echoing through the desert air. Jericho's warriors peered down from their walls, puzzled but unshaken. Day after day, the same ritual. March, blow the trumpets, say nothing, return to camp. Inside the city, fear began to grow. The people of Jericho had heard the stories, how the Lord had dried up the Red Sea, how he defeated mighty kings in the wilderness. Now they trembled behind their walls, waiting for a battle that never came. But on the 7th day, something changed. At sunrise, the people rose early. The priests lifted the ark, and the nation moved once more, not for 1 circuit, but for 7. Around and around they marched until the final lap was complete. Then Joshua raised his voice. "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The trumpets blasted. The people lifted a roar that shook the air, and suddenly, the earth trembled beneath their feet. The walls that had stood for generations began to crack, then crumble, then collapse entirely. Stone by stone, Jericho fell, not by human might, but by the power of God's word. Israel surged forward, claiming the city the Lord had delivered into their hands. Every promise he had spoken to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was being fulfilled before their eyes. But in the midst of destruction, mercy shone. For within Jericho lived Rahab, the woman who had hidden the spies and believed in the God of Israel. Her scarlet cord hung in her window, a sign of faith and salvation. Her household was spared and her name remembered forever among God's people. The fall of Jericho was more than a victory. It was a declaration that faith in God can bring down walls no human hand can move. No obstacle is too strong, no barrier too high when God's presence leads the way. The shouts of Israel still echo through the ages, not as noise of war, but as the sound of faith in motion. For every heart that believes, the walls still fall.